Yesterday was the 56-person ProQuest Season 3 event at Gongaii Games in Portland, Oregon, USA. In this video, I'm doing an event recap, not just of the gaming side of things, but also of the event itself.
A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando.
Hey there, Flesh and Blood folks, and welcome back to Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast, and good morning by the time I get this edited and up. No, it won't be morning anymore, and there's everywhere in the world, but for me, it's morning. I got to bed super late last night. I got back about midnight, and then it took me about 2 hours to shut my brain off, because as many of you know, I was the TO for this event yesterday. So yes, there will be obviously I have bias, right, as to the event, but if you did make it out yesterday, I hope that it was a good time. I hope that it was a good event as well as just a good tournament, right? My goal was to make it a community event as well as just a tournament. So that's what I hope we succeeded at, but regardless, I hope you had a great time, and if you caught us on the live stream yesterday, I hope that was good as well, some feedback on that. But all right, so for today, yes, I want to go through a recap of the event. We're going to go first through the event, like the actual tactics of the event, like who placed where and field breakdown and all that. We'll get that out of the way first, because I realize the majority probably don't care about the event recap, learning type stuff. But then we'll go into that as well. Also, so that it's out there, I do not work for Gongaii Games. I was the one who brought Flesh and Blood to Gongaii back in basically October of release year, and then we went into the pandemic. But I was the one who brought that, and I've just always been the fab guy, right? So when we've been building the community and doing very, very well, which is good, because when it was shown, because we were rewarded with this ProQuest, and this is my first time running an event this large. So I learned a lot. I will have, this is the first part of a two-part cast. The second part is kind of some learnings I had, and then you saw a lot of chatter over the last couple weeks about prizing sucks and all this stuff, and we need to have a chat as a community, because I didn't realize how hard it was to make these events, to make an event like this profitable, right? Because I'll just be blunt, as the community organizer, I have to look out for both interests. And I had no idea how hard it was to make it a good event for the players and actually still make it worth the game store's time to do that. But that's for a different cast. That's a cast that's going to get a lot of dislikes, because a lot of people don't want to hear the reality of the situation. But look out for that if you care about it. So yes, all right, so let's go into the actual event itself. So we had 56 total players in the main field. Now we had set the cap at 60. And the reason we set it at 60, so it was originally at 32, and then we received some very aggressive feedback that was not large enough from the Portland player base. Primarily those who hadn't signed up were not happy about it. So I worked with Gongaii to see what we could do. At 32, we would have been able to play in their LGS, but to expand it, we had to explore other options. So we ended up being in their warehouse, which they had to put quite a bit of work into converting their operational warehouse into a usable play space for 60 people. So shout out to Gongaii for that. I really think they deserve a lot of credit for the resources, and by the resources, I mean the time and effort that they put into moving all of the stuff out of the warehouse and flipping this and getting TVs in there, and they did a really good job. But we'll get to that in a second, I guess. Like I said, it's been a long 14 hours, so thanks for bearing with me. But yes, 56 total players. We had one person drop the day before for some personal issues, and then we had 3 no-shows the morning of. The field was 8 Fis, 6 Oldhims, 6 Dash, 5 Rhinars, 4 Dromais, 4 Icelanders, which is very surprising considering that Josh Madison, a DC team guy, had actually taken down the Fable Hobby ProQuest, which was last weekend in Portland on Icelander. So I was expecting that to be a little higher, but I guess maybe that's why Fi was higher than it was at Fable. Very interesting. 4 Lexis, 3 Dorintheas, 3 Levias. Now that's very interesting. We've got some Levia truthers in Portland, so it makes sense. 2 Azaleas, 2 Katsus. That one really surprised me. One of them was a Katsu, like a legit Katsu deck, which is pretty funny. We had 2 Kanos, one of which was a Brainstorm Kano. Shout out to Oats on that one. 2 Bravos. Shout out to Steven, who brought Bravo and I believe performed his, but he went 3-3 on Bravo. And I believe that's his best performance ever at a major tournament. So huge shout out to you, Steven. Nicely done, sir. 2 Arachnes, 1 Briar, 1 Viscerai. Where have all the Runeblades gone? Where have all the Runeblades gone? That's very interesting. And then 1 Boltyn. I still think Runeblades are broken mathematically. So very interesting how things evolve. But I guess when they can't pay for things, that changes stuff, right? Makes sense. And then I do want to give a shout out also to Nathan Jakar on Boltyn. He ended up taking down Josh, I think in round. Josh Madison, like I said, won the Icelander the weekend before. Ended up taking him down with Boltyn, which like that's a tough match for like Boltyn and Icelander. Like there's taxes, lose go agains. It's impressive. It's impressive. So nicely done. All right, the top 8 players, you see them across the screen right now. Many of them no newbie to the top 8 tables, right? A lot. You got Jesse in there, Natan in there, you got Carl in there, Adam, DC team guy, getting our jerseys in the top 8. I love it. So let's go ahead and go down the bracket. So Alex Frazier was the 1 seed on Bravo. The 2 seed was Adam Hill, DC team guy on Icelander. The 3 seed was Davis Purcell on Dorinthea, so nicely done. Natan was 4 seed, Carl was 5 seed, both of them on Oldhim. They ended up playing each other. The 6 seed was Dylan Mangini, he's on Oldhim. We then had... 2, 1. We then had Jesse Valdez. 2, 1. We then had Jesse Valdez, great dude on Phi, and then Nathan Dolman, your eventual champion, on Rhinar in the 8th seed. So the 1-8 went, obviously, as I kind of gave it away already, right? Nathan won on Rhinar over Bravo. That was a fun match to watch. Oldhim versus Oldhim. Oldhim got that one. Natan took that down. Dorinthea versus Oldhim, I mean, we all knew the way that one was going to go. That's a nigh impossible match for Dorinthea to win. So Dylan took that one down, and then Jesse edged out Adam on the Icelander Phi match, which I think also generally makes sense. But again, Adam obviously has had to cut through many a Phi to get to where he was. All right, Nathan then took down Natan in a fantastic freaking match in the top 4. So... he ended up winning this. He pitched act, he set it up, he had an E-Pod out, red barraging into Alpha Rampage. Quad intimidate for, that's right, 17. Freaking awesome end to the game. I mean, what are you going to do? It was awesome. And then Dylan took down Jesse. So Dylan moved on. So we had, going into the finals, we had Nathan versus Dylan, so Rhinar versus Oldhim again. But what ended up happening here was there was a pre-game concession. Nathan ended up taking the win, and Dylan ended. So Nathan ended up taking the win for the ProQuest, and then Dylan walked away with the gold foil. I was very much hoping that gold foil would get opened and we could get it on stream, but that was not the case, which makes sense. It's his right. Selling them sealed, I think there's intelligence in that. So yeah, so Nathan Dolman is our champion, taking it down on Rhinar Reckless Rampage, getting some 2 points for Rhinar on the LSS, but nicely done. Watching him play Rhinar was pretty fun. It was pretty fun all day, whether on stream or not. And great guy. Also, I should shout out member of, and I will not be giving his deck list today because I plan on getting this up ASAP. And they're all going to the Fable Hobby, they're going to the Distant Dice, which is Fab Foundry, and Nathan is Team Foundry, and I don't want to give anybody's deck lists away because they're all probably rolling into the event, like, basically the time this video will go live. So the deck list will obviously be up. The winning deck list will obviously be up on LSS's site, right? I'm submitting it to LSS later today, so you'll be able to see it there. We can cover it later. Like I said, I don't want to give any tech secrets away when they're about to run into... I don't want to disadvantage anybody for doing what they had to do. So thank you for understanding. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. I will go... Actually, what I'll do is once it's on LS's page, I'll go back below and link the deck. But, it's the right thing to do. So, and then, yeah, again, that quad intimidate. So let's go ahead and talk the event itself. Now, as I mentioned, there were some. It's kind of a long story, and like I said, well, we can talk about it in a different cast. I think is more appropriate. So, but we started the day like this. So it was like snowing. So I showed up at the event, obviously, many hours before we even opened the doors, which would make sense. And like I came out to get something out of my car, and I'm like, oh, it's snowing now. Okay, well, that'll help people get here on time. It ended up not being all that bad, but Portland doesn't always get snow, and people kind of panic a lot. But you can't stop gamers from getting to their tournament, so nicely done there. All right, so I did have 2 judges as well to help me, so thank you to Phil. He was our head judge, and Teek was there to help out as well. Teek's obviously a Gongaii local person, certified judge, but wanted to have both of them involved. They both did a really great job. They helped me out. I mean, not only did they actually handle the judge calls and stuff, but they helped me run the event as well. So that was much needed. So thank you to the both of you. They were there all day as well. So the event itself started, players, when they walked in the door, and then they did registration and stuff. They were greeted by the donuts. Gongaii had shelled out some money to buy enough donuts, and those donuts obviously sat there all day and were snacks for people as the day went on. So the tactics of the tournament was that, and I'm sorry, I'm just going, I've got a little bit of a nose run, so it is what it is. The tactics of the tournaments are, we started at noon. Now, the reason I started the tournament at noon was because I wanted to be able to go through Swiss with no break, and noon gives people enough time to eat before they come, right? And then we also had the donuts there to greet them, and they could snack on those throughout the day. So that was the plan there. So that was a nice little add-on. Gongaii also supplies free soda and water. And then they also have beer and cider and stuff available for purchase, which many people, as they started getting that X2, they did partake in that. So that was fun as well. But yes, this was all complimentary, and this is, part of the tournament entry, right? Is be able to have the water and the soda. Always a nice perk at Gongaii as well. So again, adding to that event feel, not just a tournament. This was my setup. Again, I know many of you joined on the 1,600 views to date. We were live streaming for, I think, the better part of 12 hours. No, it must have only been like 11 hours. Either way, we were live streaming for a long time. I was not super pleased with the stream. I was not able to handle the glare, right? So it's a warehouse. They had not only fluorescent lighting, but they also had a skylight. So as the weather changed, I had to do the glare. There was glare in the bottom screen. It was the best I could do, and I obviously had other things to worry about that day than the stream. So I know that the equipment, I was able to get it to where only the equipment was what you couldn't see, so that you could see what was going on in the main, which is more important. And at some point, I just had to cut bait. I did. I just had to say, well, it's good enough, because like I said, I had other things to do that were more important, right? The stream is not more important than the executed tournament. I know you all get that. So yes, but that's what it was. Now, they had their own table, which is great. The venue itself was pretty nice. Gongaii also donated or had gift cards for, we did gift card raffles as well. So, and yes, I blocked them out, so no, you can't use the code. And then you see my fancy table numbers that I made there blocking out the code. But again, with the raffle, having the extra pricing and stuff, just making it an event for everyone. Gongaii then brought in, near the end of Swiss, brought in 100 hot dogs and chips and cookies, brought in dinner for everyone, essentially. And this was, again, this is what Gongaii wanted to do for everyone. It's also smart tactically, because where Gongaii is located, there's no food across the street or anything like that. So in order to give people a quote-unquote dinner break or a lunch break or whatever, we would tactically have to give them an hour and a half. And then you know how gamers work, they just won't come back on time. So tactically, it makes sense to supply the food. Plus, it makes it, again, more of an event type feel and not just a tournament. So this I think was very, very well received. Obviously, it goes into the purchase price of the ticket as well, or not of the ticket, right? It was still $40, but it comes out of the event funds. But this I think was not. I mean, I wouldn't have gotten to eat if it wasn't for this. So, or I would have had to bring a sack lunch or something like that. And you give gamers free food, and look what happens to those hot dogs, right? We ended up having, I think, 5 hot dogs at the end of the day. So not too shabby, and it was a very nice little perk. All right, so this is the event itself. You can see, I think this was like round 4 or 5. And yeah, I mean, it's a warehouse, right? You can see it's a warehouse. There's the garage door there, but it was spacious. Realistically, we probably had enough room for probably 80 players. That said, we only had, I was worried tactically about bathrooms. They did have 2 bathrooms, so we ended up being okay on that. Somebody ended up nailing one of the bathrooms later on in the day. So, but I say that's like this, that's the real like logistic stuff you have to be concerned about. So we were essentially down to like 1 bathroom for the most part, kind of after like basically top 8. And so, which was unfortunate, but if that had happened earlier and we'd had 80 people in there, that would have been a problem, right? So I wanted to cap it at a more manageable number. I think that was, like I said, we could have probably, in retrospect, handled a few more people, but you can see those are 8-foot peak tables people are sitting at. We had 2 games per 8-foot table. There's a lot of room for people to move around and be comfortable. And when we're all jammed in here for, 14 hours, 13 hours, I guess, in this case, it's good to have room to spread out and move around and not feel like you're sitting on your buddy's lap. So I thought the event space was really comfortable. You can see all the stuff on the edge with the banners. That's a lot of the warehouse stuff that they'd moved out of the way. Again, a lot of work went into making the venue what it was. This is just a fun little picture of my boat because I didn't get to see my family, right? Because I was doing setup, and then my son went to bed. So this was the only chance I had to see my son that day. So he came, and he didn't want to come, but we bribed him with a donut. So he got a donut, and he got to come hang out with everybody for a little bit. All right, so just some pictures as we go through the chat of everybody playing. And again, so we ended up going 6 rounds of Swiss. And so that was, 6.5 hours. We actually ran a pretty tight ship. Not too many games went late, which was surprising. The deck checks did cause a problem in Swiss. That's something I would like to do differently. So the judges were doing the random deck checks, which is fine, but it just like on a couple of rounds, like they deck check like, the Oldhim deck, and you're like, oh man, like, you have to do it because it's a random deck check, right? And it's the right thing to do, and I'm not slamming the judges on that. But then you're like taking what's statistically going to be the longest round or longest match in the round and extending it by 10, 12 minutes, that slows the tournament down, right? So that was unfortunate. I don't know how you do that different. I don't really think you can do that differently. It just adds time and slows it down, right? So yeah, I think overall that's pretty much it. What would I do differently tactically? Like I said, I talked about we probably could get more people in. Let's go ahead and talk about kind of the, I implied there was some growing pains type stuff. So when we started, like I said, we wanted it at 32 so we could play in Gongai's main. Gongaii has an amazing play space. They really do. And I really wanted to showcase that. Plus, from a pricing standpoint, the LSS supplied pricing was 8 Soraya sleeves. So it was the gold foil for the top, 8 Soraya sleeves, and then 24 of the resource tokens. So by capping it at 32, I could ensure that every single participant left with an LSS supplied prize as well as what the store could add on to that. And when we expanded it beyond that, obviously that wasn't the case. Now, what had happened was I had posted the event, I think it was October 22nd, I believe, is when we put it in Gem to be available for everyone to see. And within like hours of it going live, we'd had several signups, people from Idaho, actually, which is a state adjacent to ours. They had signed up, they were coming. We had a bunch of people from out of state, right? So I'm assuming they had scripts or something running so they could get told when events were posted. And we ended up filling up the 32 slots by the end of December, right? So it had been open for roughly 2 months. Well, basically what happened was the day after it filled up, a lot of people were like, oh, well, I wanted to sign up for that. I didn't realize it was full. I'm like, well, I mean, it's been open for 2 months. And then people were upset about that. And understandably, people were disappointed. Some people dealt with it differently than others, though, right? I did have people reach out to me in Portland who basically accused me of hiding the event and only letting my friends register for it, which is not true because, one of my friends did not get to register for the event at the time because it was full, and one of our locals did not. And anyway, obviously that was baseless and just out of frustration or disappointment, whatever. I get it. People do things. But given the aggressive feedback, like I said, I worked with Gongaii and we figured out a new solution. But that was unfortunate. But we were able to make a good event out of it, right? So lemons out of lemonade, right? So that was a good thing. And then it's just I don't really know what else to say at this point. I thought the event went well. Oh, I do know what else I want to talk about before, and then we'll get out of here. So the live stream. So let's recap the event. I thought the event was good. I mean, obviously I'm biased, right? So we'll see what the Discords and stuff say about the event. I know there were people who were disappointed at our level of pack pricing, which I think is fair feedback. That said, if you look at the photos and demonstrated what else we provided, I took more of a quote-unquote communist type approach to the event where I wanted people to have more rewards. I wanted everybody to have more rewards. So I definitely did peanut buttering, but I didn't peanut butter in packs. I peanut buttered in donuts and free drinks and food and gift card giveaways, and that was how we chose to bring it back. Whereas if we had had a hotel or something like that, we wouldn't have had, if we'd had to rent a venue, we'd have had basically nothing to give to anybody. And trying to balance that with making sure this was worth it for Gongaii. I mean, the amount of work they put in to get the warehouse to where it was, it has to be worth their time to do it again, to want to do it again, right? So that we can get to do this again, right? It is a community partnership, and I think a lot of people underestimate that when they're like, well, how come I'm not getting enough packs, man? Right? So I hope that landed well. You're not going to win with everybody because people are what people are, but I hope that landed well. All right, the last part is the live stream. So again, I kind of already gave the feedback on. It was not a super high quality stream. I would love to be in a situation where I could do commentary and stuff like that, but how am I supposed to do that and run a tournament? Obviously, the tournament comes first. And like I said, I was disappointed with the glare itself. Other than that, I thought it was acceptable. It was not a great stream. It was not a bad stream either, right? Now, one of the unfortunate things was, coming out of the gate, we had Kevin. You guys have seen Kevin play on this channel. If you watch the gameplay on this channel, you've seen him play multiple times. Him and Rick, both DC team guys, played together hundreds of times, probably. I mean, maybe not hundreds, but a lot. They were playing each other, and there was a mistake made where Kevin didn't pay for a Rhinar Claw. And that ended up, it didn't really impact the game overall, in my opinion. But as soon as that happened, what happened to the live stream? Right? And we're getting comments to this day about it. And I want to address that, right? To the people who are actually, and this is a very small, again, right? This is the internet, right? So of the 1,000 people who watch, there's like 2 people cranky about it, right? That's the way it works. But I really want to address the logistics of people playing on camera, especially when it's like round 1 of a major tournament, right? You're nervous. There's a lot going on. You're still trying to get in your groove and figure out where the bathrooms are and all sorts of stuff like that, right? There were probably 100 mistakes made across, right? So we had 60 people, 30 tables going on, right? 56 players, right? So you get it. But there were probably 100 mistakes made across the floor that day, right? And Kevin's got caught on camera. And to go after someone or try and make them feel bad about that, do you know who's putting the most pressure on Kevin because of the mistake he made? Is Kevin. And you can apply, and I'm not, Kevin, you are awesome and you're the man, right? Thank you for putting yourself on camera and sharing your game and your experience with all of us, right? And I'm just using you as an example because I know you can handle it, right? There were other mistakes or other misplays or other suboptimal plays made all day on stream, even at the top tables. And to if you're one of the people, if you are one of, I like to call them swivel chair champions, right? The people who can sit in their office or their mom's basement or whatever and tell other people about the misplays and whatever, right? Just remember that if you were to actually come out of your room and not play on Talishar and go play in a real tournament and record yourself, you would probably find that you actually made a mistake too, right? I know it's hard to believe, but you might find it as well, right? So again, it's just grow up, right? If we want to have streams, if we want to have players play on stream, I ask every player before they go on stream if they want to play on stream or not. Half of them think about it. Almost everybody says yes. Half of them kind of hesitate because like, oh. And the reason they do that is because of stuff like this, right? If we realistically want to have live streams of players playing, then we need to give people the benefit of the freaking doubt. Mistakes should be called out. They should be, right? Stuff should be pointed out. But to go after people is, there's a difference of saying, hey, that was a mistake versus calling someone a villain, right? There are two very different ways for people to handle that. And many of you made the correct choice. Some of you did not. And granted, the ones that didn't aren't watching this because that's, they're the ones who like 3.5-minute videos with 3 deck lists in them, right? I get it. But so if you are still watching and whatever, and you've called them out, you're a bad person. Sorry, you're a bad person. You can dislike me. I hope you do, because I don't want you part of the community because you're a bad person. So if you did go after Kevin, I think you owe an apology. If you went after anybody on stream who made a mistake, I think you owe them an apology. There's a difference between calling out a mistake and calling out a person, right? And if you did the latter, I think you owe that person an apology. That's just my take. So probably not the best way to end the event recap. But again, if you were involved in the event itself, either physical or online, you know that was part of it. And that's something that's important to me to talk about. And it's my channel, so we're going to talk about it. So anyway, again, to end this, because it needs to end at this point, I do want to thank everybody who chose to come out yesterday. I do think it was a good event. I am always open to your feedback. I will be honest, I'm not doing this again. This is not my job. And the feedback I received from the Portland community when things happen made me realize that this is my hobby and it still needs to be fun for me. So I will not be running an event like this again. But again, more for that in the next video, because we do as a community, we need to have a very hard discussion about. And again, it's not everybody, right? It's the internet side of, the one person can make it feel like 99 other people. I get it. But we need to have very real discussions about, and I didn't get it either. I honestly didn't. But we need to have a very real discussion about making this in the store's best interest as well. And because right now it's all about, what have you done for me today, this hour? And if we want this game to be successful, like everybody hates CFB. But we still go buy stuff from CFB, but then we expect our LGSs to basically do this for no profit. We don't mind that CFB makes hundreds of millions of dollars across us. Anyway, different video, but we need to have that chat. So anyway, again, thank you, everyone. Thanks for watching. If you're still here at this point, I don't know. Just thank you. I don't know. Thank you. I'm sure I'll have to go back and edit this, but like I said, I'm very tired. I'm probably not going to go edit this. I think all of this needs said. Like I said, that other video is incoming later this week when I'm not so uppity about it. So anyway, thanks, folks. Go Commando.